Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Security Based Podcast. What we will be discussing today is part of securing the UK CNI subsector series, and the sector that we are focusing on today is waste management. Today, we're joined by David Parles, who is the Head of Information Security at Biffa. And yeah, I suppose we get into it. Dave, are you right just to give the audience a little bit of an introduction to yourself, if that's okay?
Hi all, yeah, my name's Dave Parles. I'm head of cybersecurity at Biffa. Been there 3.5 years now. Looking after, as it says, the security piece. Everything from sort of like the some of the hands-on stuff up to all the GRC stuff. Including our accreditations. So ISO 27001. Cyber Essentials Plus, PCI DSS. Also now working towards NIST and the new AI ISO 42001 that we're hoping to land within the next 18 months to 2 years. Sounds like a long time frame, but with everything else going on in large, busy corporation, that's probably not that long a time frame at all. Previously, I was IT director at an arm's length body of the MOD, so the Council of Reserve Forces and Cadets Association. I was there almost 5 years. Um, Again, that was basically looking after the whole of the IT function. And for those of you listening from the MOD world, know all about data accreditations and things like that, and the pain that they can bring. And obviously used to work with guys all over the MOD, including down at Army HQ and Farnborough. Previously to that, I was network and telecom stroke security manager for a company called BRE, who had offices all the way from Brazil to China. So again, quite a large, far-ranging corporation. I believe they've downsized a bit now. Then before that, had various sort of network and telecoms managers roles in the utility sector. Was a lead engineer for an installation company that used to do a lot of work around utilities, and hospitals and councils and things like that. But it all started off with a company called Telephone Rentals, which I sort of fell into by chance, I guess is the best way of putting it. When I left school, I had trained to become a carpenter, and my father, grandfather, and uncle had all worked for a firm called TR, as it was known, and decided I should go and become an apprentice there. So I did. So what I trained for at school, kind of, and college went by the wayside, and then just sort of drifted into it that way, and then I've just managed to progress my career all the way through, learning new skills and bits and pieces with companies and taking on bits that maybe other people didn't want to. One of the utility companies I worked for was listed on the American Stock Exchange, so Starbones Oxley came in, and no one particularly wanted to get involved with that. So it's, oh, Dave will take anything on, so we just push it over towards him, and they did. And I guess that's where the whole GRC part kind of came from.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's the amount of people that I speak to, Dave, who sort of say, "Oh yeah, I fell into security," and it's always sort of interesting as to what they were doing in their previous life, and it is absolutely everything and anything. And it's just interesting to hear where it sort of originated from. Do you know what I mean? So really, really good. So yeah, so to sort of segue into the topic then, Dave. Your role at Biffa. Suppose to the man on the street, they might be quite confused as to how security actually affects the waste management sector. And I know from our previous chats as well, you're kind of on the fence of like, is it CNI? Is it not? There's a lot of debate about it. I think you're trying to say like, that it is, but maybe it's not widely known as being part of CNI. I would say that it is, but how does obviously security affect the waste management sector then?
Well, if we address the CNI piece to start with first, obviously during COVID, waste collection, waste businesses and things were regarded as key workers. So sort of fell under that rap, and everybody was being looked after, had letters in their cars in case you got stopped by the police. There was all those rumours, wasn't there, of, you would get stopped if you were out and about. Um, and also, we generate electricity as well from food waste. We used to generate electricity from waste as well, but have very recently sold that arm of the business off to be able to invest more in other areas of the business. So there's also that electrical generation piece as well, which maybe not many people know about. But all the food waste that we collect is in your food caddies and pods go off to our plant and are converted into electricity. So, but we don't generate enough electricity at the moment either to fall under CNI. So we sort of sit on the fence, as it were, between the two. I suppose depending on which day of the week it is and what the government say. I mean, you've only got to look at Birmingham, unfortunately, and the bin strike that's been going on there for 6 or 7 months now to see the impact that it has on the local area and the well-being of residents, and rodent infestations and things, to realise how important the collection of waste and proper recycling is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm always sort of having chats as to how security can actually get communicated in the boardroom, and it's always interesting as to how to put it into that context of because we're constantly fighting the battle of like security is a cost center and the sense of well, security is not an important pillar in this business, and in waste management it might look like that, but as you very well mentioned there, the bin strikes that are happening in Birmingham, it affects us, and all of a sudden it's like there's a spotlight going straight on, like where are these strikes happening. Now I'm not saying that it was a security related issue. You might be able to educate me in a couple of seconds when I pass back over to you. But what can happen is, let's just say there is an incident, a cybersecurity incident, where I don't know, like there is some leaked credentials or whatever it might be. There might be a financial impact on the business, and therefore the bin men might not be able to get paid. And as such, they then go on strike, and then it's like, okay, well, this is now affecting hygiene. It's affecting, like, literally, like it might cause traffic. It might actually cause a real life incident where it's like, what's going on here? And it's because of said cyber incident. And that's how you relate it to sort of the business need. So to pass back over to you, Dave, like, is that sort of the things that you've constantly got to be aware of, or am I a little bit off the mark? What do you sort of think to what I've said there?
You are on the mark. I mean, the Birmingham bin strike is caused by pay. They wanted to take away some allowances and payments to some of the guys, and some of them would have been £8,000 a year worse off. Um, Looking at it from the cyber security side, we have high profile contracts, that's the best way of putting it, and those contracts require us to meet certain standards and accreditations. And if we don't, we would lose the contracts, or we wouldn't be in a position to bid for them. So that's where the cybersecurity comes in. Also, the fact that we employ to close to 12,000 people now, so there's an awful lot of PII that we hold as well, and obviously all of our payment details as well. I mean, we're a multi-billion-pound company now, so there's huge quantities of financial transactions that you have to keep safe, as well as we said, sort of like all the contractual data. We work for the MOD, governments, local councils, police forces, etc. So some of our drivers have to be DV cleared, for example, to be allowed to go onto site,
Yeah.
as do some of our sort of like account managers and sales teams. So it's not, I guess, is the public's perception is, it's a couple of blokes in a bin lorry trundling down the road, picking up waste and holding up traffic. It really isn't that, especially when you look at the other side of it as well, is what we do with the waste. we try and send nothing to landfill, as we mentioned. So, the last resort is burning waste to generate electricity. But before that, we go out and we have some of the biggest and most advanced MRFs, material recycling facilities in the UK. So your recycling is picked up, goes off to a MRF where it's tipped. And this is a plea from my heart. You've all seen it in the press lately. Please do not put batteries in general waste, recycling waste bins, etc. Recycle them properly, because that causes bin lorries to catch fire, and the MRFs can catch fire as well. And believe me, you don't want it to happen. You think a bin lorry's holding your day up slightly for 2 minutes. If one catches fire, it will make your day a lot worse if you're
Yeah,
behind.
absolutely,
Please, please,
absolutely.
please do as you're told there.
Consider me told. Put it that way, Dave. Absolutely, I won't catch me doing it.
Yeah,
But
well,
no.
you've seen lately, haven't you, all these houses that have caught fire because of e-bikes
Mm,
chargings going on and things. The same thing happens. Battery goes into the bin lorry, the blade comes down, causes a spark, and it catches fire, or it can happen in the materials recycling facility.
yeah.
But getting back on track, the materials recycling facilities will sort out your cardboard, your paper, your glass, your tins, your plastics, etc. And as you can imagine, it's not just the security of the plant, there's this other layer on top of it as well, because you have to consider sort of like all your fire suppression, which is now all computer controlled, your fire alarms, your CCTV monitoring, because there's cameras monitoring the conveyor belts and the plants in case something should go wrong.
Mm,
And again, this whole, I guess, circular economy piece that we keep referring to is, it's not just the collection of the waste, it's also the sale of the product as well that we have to think about. Because you go and buy your 2 litre milk carton from your chosen supermarket, take it home, use the milk, put it in the recycling. Then we pick it up, it goes along to one of our recycling plants, gets put in a separate waste stream, goes off to one of our polymers plants, and then gets recreated back into a sterile milk carton that we then sell back to your chosen supermarket, who fills it with milk and sells it to you again. So again, getting back to the cybersecurity piece, and it's not just bins on the road, it's almost everything you can think of now is touched by waste and what we do, and the whole circular economy that we have to bear in mind from a security perspective.
no, that's a really terrific point and really well surmised as well with how you link that back to security. I like that, and it sort of sets the platform as to what I want to ask you next in the sense of. You mentioned a lot of points there about sort of like it's no longer what you think it is. It's not just two guys picking up bins on the street. It's like the fact that you have to be DV cleared, the amount of the amount of stuff that happens on the back end around sort of sale of products and that. So I wanted to sort of ask you around what has been the sort of digital transformation that's happened in the last, yeah, 5, 10 years as to how the waste management sector actually balances this innovation against risk and how they're moving away from, say, supposed legacy systems to this new age where they're having to combine technology to improve efficiency of their workflows. So, yeah, how do you sort of balance innovation and risk in your role, Dave?
If you go back to the old days, the bin lorries had routes that were set out on paper, and the guys just went off and did their bit. Now everything is controlled by computer. So there's a big screen in the cab that is updated every morning, sends them their route, the approximation of the bin weights on previous history, because people get billed by weight, and all the bin lorries, for example, have CCTV on them. This is to obviously prove or provide evidence that our guys are working safely. And again, if something should happen, as I mentioned earlier, people don't like wait behind bin lorries. So I've seen videos of people driving up pavements and knocking bins out of people's hands and things to get past. So it's there as this the stuff to protect the staff and prove that they're working safely. But again, if we look at technology on a bin lorry, for example, now I mentioned weights a minute ago. What happens in the winter time is you get a lot of rough sleepers in bins as well. So when the bin, as a driver goes to pick up the bin lorry, he kicks it a couple of times, kicks the bin, sorry, a couple of times, gives it a shake to make sure there's nobody in it. But then when the forks come down and picks the bin up, they're able to tell whether there's excess weight in there, and there's unfortunately someone sleeping in there. And that happened. We had one last year of a driver woke up a mother and a baby sleeping in one of the bins.
Wow.
And it's the technology that we use that shows us that, because last 3 weeks that bin's weighed 70 kilos.
Yeah.
Today it's 170 kilos. What's gone wrong? Something needs investigated. Either someone's put a car engine in the bottom, or it could be something a lot more serious, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what it is. So all of that data, and there's vast quantities of that, as you can imagine. We have hundreds of bin lorries on the road every day. It's all relaying back to our 24/7 control room that we have. So the control room are helping monitor for incidents and things that could go wrong as well. And we have to protect that vast quantity of data there, because you got people's registration numbers, faces, blah blah blah, and on that raw data as it's transmitted, there's no way for the bin wagons to to block that. It's no different to the cameras on cars now,
Yep.
that pick up everything, or Google cars driving around,
Yep.
So so there's all of that to protect. Plus, as we said, there's all of the contractual information now, which again has changed drastically over the last 10, 15 years, by the way that contracts are written now, the detail it holds,
Mm.
as well as all of our personal staff data. We tend not to hold third-party PII data by
Yep.
the nature of the business, because we're not selling software or anything like that. We're
Yep.
collecting waste. And unfortunately, as a business grows and it becomes more prominent, it becomes a higher target as well. The threat vector changes, and you become an ever increasing threat vector. A few years ago, we were we used to be PLC. We're not anymore. Just over 3 years ago, we were bought by an American company, Energy Capital Partners, ECP. And when it was released into the US financial press that they were buying us, obviously big business. Anyone that's been to Britain has seen a Biffa bin. I get sent photographs of them in all manner of strange places. And unfortunately, a scam came along that we weren't aware of originally, because it was only being run in the US. We don't operate outside of the United Kingdom. So we wouldn't be aware of what was going on in the US. And people had started coming up with this scam. They'd copied profiles from LinkedIn. They'd found documentation, letterheads, etc. Everything that's easy to find in a 2-minute Google search. And unfortunately had started creating fake job applications,
Yep.
saying, we want data control clerks, data input clerks, sorry, at $45 an hour. I'm not particularly aware of the US job market, but that sounds extremely high to me. And they come up with fake LinkedIn jobs. They come up with a fake Regus type office and all of this. So they've invested some time and money into it. And the bite was that to get the job, you had to send them a check for $5,000. It covered your laptop, your scanner, your software, your printer, your peripherals, and all of that. And
Yeah.
the first we knew about it was when emails were going through to our MD and a head of HR at the
Yeah.
time saying, you're not very nice people. What are you doing?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it then comes my way with Dave. Have a look at this, find out what's going on. So, sort of did some scratching around and investigation work. Spoke to some of the people that have been affected, unfortunately. Pieced all the bits together. Obviously, during this time, it had already been reported to the NCSC and UK Action Fraud, and the American equivalent, which is there's a federal website you log it all on, because obviously I have no jurisdiction to go and do anything in America.
Yeah.
And then just pieced it all together, gave them as much info as possible, and then we apologised to everybody that we could that had been affected, and said, well, unfortunately, this is US scammers. It's out of our hands now. But it could have been, well, it was quite serious for those involved. I don't know how it was resolved, whether they ever got their money back or not, because obviously it's out of UK jurisdiction.
Yep.
Um, and I guess it's things like that that also change the vectors that you have to think about, and your threat landscape as well.
Yep.
Because before we were born, nobody ever thought of that,
Yep.
because it never happened. Because we were a PLC, it wasn't in anybody's interests to do anything like that. And if it had been a UK scam, we would have known about it if things were flying around on the internet in the UK,
Yep.
etc. So again, that's how things have changed, along with all your usual advancements in IT as well. And obviously, now the big thing is the use of AI, which we're trying to use in the plants for more usage of like the fire detection and the belts and the plant operation and things like that, for the use of sorting materials.
Yep.
Because at the moment, the last line in a MRF, materials recycling facility, is a human picker. If you can do that with AI, it's better.
Yep. Yep.
So it has changed beyond, I think, all, all reasonable thought process in the last 10 or 15 years. But it's because I guess it's becoming a lot more visible
Yes.
for all the right reasons. The government is pushing weight. There was that failed scheme in Scotland, unfortunately, the deposit return scheme,
Right.
which made the news for all the wrong reason, unfortunately. In England and Wales, we have the waste regulations, which came into a force for large businesses this year, and then they're going to be small businesses and households next year, where there's going to be more emphasis on recycling and things.
Yep.
So it's a forever growing marketplace as well, because we're all being pushed towards recycle, recycle, recycle.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the UK is a poor relation to the rest of Europe on that at the moment as well.
And you made that was a really, really interesting case study that you brought to our attention there, Dave. And like you say, as we go into this digital, more and more on the digital emphasis, naturally the attack surface management will only grow as well with the attack vectors. It's just the bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it? I suppose that's one way of looking at it. And this, well, this threat intelligence, this insider threat related issue that you had. I don't know if it was an insider threat that was leaking
It
information
wasn't.
through.
It was all external.
Was
Someone
it all
someone had
external?
picked up on it in the press and thought this is a way of capitalising on something.
Yeah. So what would you
And
actually say is the biggest threat to the waste management sector moving forward then? Is it what you were segueing to at the end around AI? Is it the evolution of all these different attack vectors? Is it still simply business email compromise? What would you say is the biggest threat to your industry, Dave?
well, I think because it's such a diverse industry now, but if we went back 20 years, picked up the waste, went into landfill, few people in the offices ran the operation. Now it's, picked up, recycled. You've got the MRFs, the offices, and everything else, and it's everything that you could imagine. I think there is no one single threat. There are multiple threats. You've always got the phishing type threats. Being a large company, you're always going to be at the forefront of a ransomware attack. You've got people who hack as hobbies who are going to, want to try and be disruptive to the plants and the process side of things. And generally, because of the nature of the business and that it's so much at the forefront of people's minds at the moment, you're also going to have the foreign state actors who just want to cause chaos.
Mm, absolutely. No, really, really interesting stuff. And unfortunately, we've actually come to our time as well, Dave. So if there's anything, there's so much that we can obviously learn from today's pod. But if there's anything, is make sure we recycle our batteries. That was drilled into me
That's the
with
one.
fear
Thank
more than
you.
anything. But yeah, if anybody's got any questions for Dave, what he's raised today, or would like to learn more about how security actually affects the waste management sector, I'm sure that Dave will be happy to oblige and jump on a chat with yourselves. But other than that, I just want to extend the thanks again today for jumping on the Security Space podcast. So thank you very much, mate.
Thank you.